The coffee had gone cold hours ago, but Emma Rodriguez barely noticed as she stared at the data flowing across her screen. Numbers that should not exist danced before her tired eyes, each calculation more impossible than the last. Her laboratory at the Global Environmental Research Center had become her prison for the past 3 weeks. And still the data made no sense. Earth was breaking every rule of science the galaxy had ever known. The holographic display showed atmospheric readings that fluctuated wildly yet somehow maintained perfect balance. Oxygen levels that should have caused massive fires stayed stable through mechanisms no scientist could explain. Carbon dioxide absorption rates that defied every model of plant biology. Nitrogen cycles that worked with impossible efficiency. The planet was doing things that every advanced civilization in the galaxy insisted were impossible without massive technological intervention. Emma rubbed her eyes and looked at the ocean data next. Currents that should have been chaotic formed perfect patterns that regulated global temperature. Marine ecosystems that housed millions of species in spaces that should have supported thousands. Coral reefs that somehow made themselves stronger when damaged. Fish populations that maintained themselves through predator-prey relationships that broke every mathematical model. The forest data was even worse. Trees that shared nutrients with their competitors. Root systems that communicated across continents through fungal networks that operated like biological internet systems. Entire ecosystems that grew stronger when hit by storms, fires, and diseases. Plants that produced exactly the right chemicals to heal animals that ate them. It was as if the entire planet was one giant living organism that had learned to heal itself. Her computer chimed with an incoming message that made her stomach drop. The Galactic Science Council had been reviewing Earth's ecosystem data for 6 months. Their conclusion was simple and terrifying. Earth's biosphere was impossible. No planet could maintain such complexity without artificial management systems. Therefore, humans were either lying about their technology or hiding something that posed a threat to galactic stability. The message was from Director Walsh, and his words were clinical, but Emma could feel the panic underneath. The Council has given us 6 months to prove our ecosystem is natural or face permanent quarantine. They believe we are hiding advanced terraforming technology that could be weaponized. Report to my office immediately. Emma saved her work and walked through corridors filled with frantic scientists. The Global Environmental Research Center had been transformed overnight into humanity's last hope. Every nation on Earth had sent their best researchers. Marine biologists worked alongside atmospheric physicists. Ecologists shared data with xenobiologists. The greatest minds of the planet were trying to prove something that seemed impossible to prove. That Earth was natural. Director Walsh's office buzzed with activity. Screens covered every wall, showing data streams from research stations across the globe. Walsh himself stood at the center, his hair grayer than Emma remembered from last month. He looked like a man trying to solve an impossible puzzle while the world watched. Emma, thank God you're here, Walsh said without looking away from the screens. The Andromedans just released their analysis of our ocean data. They claim our coral reefs show signs of nanotechnological enhancement. The Rigel scientists insist our forests are maintained by hidden atmospheric processors. Even the peaceful Centauri are asking questions about our soil composition that we can't answer. Emma felt the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. What exactly are they saying? They're saying that Earth's ecosystem violates the fundamental laws of biological stability. Every other inhabited planet in the galaxy maintains their biosphere through technological systems, environmental processors that regulate atmosphere, genetic modification programs that keep species populations stable, artificial nutrient distribution networks that prevent ecosystem collapse. They do this because natural ecosystems always fail when planets develop advanced technology. Walsh pulled up a galactic map showing thousands of inhabited worlds. Each one glowed with the soft blue light that indicated technological environmental management. Earth glowed green, the only planet showing natural biological activity. It looked lonely and impossible among all that regulated blue. According to galactic science, natural ecosystems are unstable by definition, Walsh continued. They believe any planet complex enough to support intelligent life will inevitably face ecological collapse during technological development. Every civilization in the galaxy has records of this happening. They replace their failing natural systems with artificial ones to survive. Emma stared at the map. So they think we're lying because we never had to replace our ecosystem with technology? Worse, they think we developed technology so advanced that we can perfectly mimic natural processes. They believe we're hiding terraforming capabilities that could remake any planet in the galaxy. From their perspective, a perfectly balanced natural ecosystem is more advanced than anything they've ever built. The implications hit Emma like a physical blow. Earth's greatest strength had become humanity's greatest liability. Their beautiful, complex, naturally balanced world was being seen as a weapon of mass destruction by civilizations that had forgotten what nature looked like. There's more, Walsh said quietly. 3 species have already called for immediate quarantine protocols. They want Earth sealed off from the galaxy until we can prove our ecosystem is natural. If we fail to provide convincing proof within 6 months, the Galactic Council will activate containment fields around our solar system. No ships in or out, forever. Emma looked around the room at the desperate faces of Earth's best scientists. They were being asked to prove something that should have been obvious. How do you prove that nature is natural to beings who have lived in artificial environments for thousands of years? What kind of proof will convince them? Emma asked. Walsh laughed bitterly. That's the problem. We don't know. They've rejected every piece of data we've sent. They claim our atmospheric readings are fabricated. They insist our biodiversity numbers are impossible. They refuse to believe that forests can regulate their own temperature or that oceans can maintain their own chemistry without technological intervention. Emma felt a spark of determination cutting through her despair. Then we need to show them something they can't reject. We need to bring them here and let them see it for themselves. The room fell silent. Everyone knew that inviting aliens to Earth was prohibited by every treaty humanity had signed with the Galactic Council. The risks of contamination, cultural disruption, and technological theft were considered too high. But as Emma looked at the impossible data on her screens, she realized they had no choice. Earth's ecosystem was telling a story that the galaxy refused to believe. Maybe it was time to let the planet tell that story in person. The next 6 months would determine whether humanity remained part of galactic civilization or became a cautionary tale about the dangers of claiming the impossible was real. Rain drummed against the windows of the emergency session hall while the greatest scientific minds on Earth argued about humanity's future. Emma Rodriguez sat at the head of the massive conference table, watching Nobel Prize winners and field research legends tear each other apart over the simplest question in science. How do you prove that nature exists? Dr. Alex Thompson, a marine biologist who had spent 30 years studying coral reef ecosystems, slammed his tablet down in frustration. They're asking us to prove that water is wet, he said to the room. How do you demonstrate to artificial beings that natural systems work naturally? It's like explaining color to someone who's never had eyes. Professor Nina Kowalski, whose fungal network research had revolutionized understanding of forest communication, shook her head. The problem isn't our evidence. The problem is their worldview. These civilizations have been living in artificial environments for so long that they've forgotten natural systems ever existed. To them, our planet looks like the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Emma watched the debate continue for hours. Every suggestion met with the same obstacle. How do you prove something is natural to beings who believe nature is impossible? Dr. David Park's atmospheric data was dismissed as fabricated. Marine samples were rejected as artificially enhanced. Even soil composition studies were claimed to show signs of nanotechnological manipulation. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lisa Wong, a young xenobiologist who had been quietly reviewing galactic historical records, stood up suddenly. I think I know why they don't believe us, she said, her voice cutting through the argument. It's not that they've forgotten about natural ecosystems. It's that they remember them too well. The room fell silent as Lisa activated the main display. Ancient records from dozens of galactic civilizations appeared on screen, each telling the same tragic story. Planet after planet had possessed complex natural ecosystems millions of years ago. But as each species developed advanced technology, their natural systems began to collapse. Look at the pattern, Lisa continued. The Andromedans had natural oceans until their industrial age poisoned them. The Rigel Confederation's forests died during their atomic period. The Centauri lost their atmospheric balance when they developed. Space travel. Every single advanced civilization in the galaxy has records of ecological collapse during technological development. Emma felt pieces clicking together in her mind. So they saved themselves by replacing their natural systems with artificial ones? Exactly. But here's the important part. They all believe ecological collapse during technological development is inevitable. It's written into their fundamental scientific theories. They think natural ecosystems are inherently unstable and will always fail when a species becomes advanced enough to affect planetary systems. Dr. Thompson leaned forward. Which means they think our ecosystem should have collapsed centuries ago. And since it didn't, Nina added, they assume we must have replaced it with technology so advanced that it perfectly mimics natural processes. Emma stared at the historical records. Humanity wasn't just claiming something impossible. They were challenging the core assumption that every galactic civilization used to justify their entire way of life. Earth's continued natural balance suggested that ecological collapse wasn't inevitable, which meant thousands of species might have given up their natural worlds unnecessarily. We need a new approach, Emma said. We're not just presenting evidence anymore. We're proposing a fundamental shift in galactic scientific understanding. We need to show them not just what our ecosystem does, but how it does it in ways their artificial systems cannot. Over the following weeks, Emma assembled a team unlike anything the scientific world had seen. Alex Thompson brought deep ocean expertise from his research in the Mariana Trench. His work with bioluminescent creatures had revealed communication systems that operated through chemical signals no artificial network could replicate. Nina Kowalski contributed. Her research on mycorrhizal networks that connected entire continents through fungal communication webs. David Park provided atmospheric analysis showing how Earth's weather systems created and maintained themselves through feedback loops that would be impossible to artificially reproduce, but their most valuable team member turned out to be Tim Chun, a young naturalist from the Amazon rainforest who had grown up learning indigenous knowledge about ecosystem relationships. While the others understood the science, Tim understood the soul of natural systems. He could predict forest behavior. By reading signs that didn't show up in any scientific instrument, the team's first major discovery came when they realized they had been thinking about the problem backwards. Instead of trying to prove their ecosystem was natural, they needed to demonstrate that it was impossible to fake. Earth's biological systems operated through layers of complexity that no artificial system could maintain. Alex's ocean research revealed that marine ecosystems regulated themselves through millions of interconnected relationships between species, currents, chemical cycles, and even lunar gravitational effects. The system was so complex that replicating it would require computational power, exceeding anything the galaxy had ever built. Nina's forest studies showed similar complexity on land. Trees didn't just grow in forests. They created forests through chemical communication, nutrient sharing, and cooperative resource management that operated across multiple timescales simultaneously. The fungal networks that connected plants operated like biological internet systems, but with redundancy and self-repair capabilities that no artificial network could match. David's atmospheric research proved that Earth's climate stability emerged from the interaction of countless variables including ocean currents, forest transpiration, microbial activity, and even the breathing patterns of the planet's animals. The system was simultaneously robust enough to survive asteroid impacts and sensitive enough to respond to butterfly migrations, but Tim's insights brought everything together. He showed the team that Earth's ecosystem wasn't just complex. It was alive in a way that artificial systems could never be. Natural systems didn't just maintain balance. They actively evolved to maintain balance better. They learned from disruptions and became stronger. They healed themselves not just by repairing damage, but by growing in ways that prevented similar damage in the future. As the team compiled their findings, they realized they had discovered something profound. Earth's ecosystem wasn't just natural. It was an example of what galactic civilizations had lost when they chose artificial management over natural evolution. The planet was a living library of biological wisdom that the galaxy desperately needed to rediscover, but convincing beings who had lived in artificial environments for millennia would require more than data and theories. They would need to experience natural systems firsthand. Emma began to formulate a plan that would either save humanity's place in galactic civilization or get them all accused of crimes against cosmic security. The plan was simple in concept but terrifying in execution. Invite representatives from major galactic civilizations to visit Earth and experience a natural ecosystem in person. Let them see, touch, smell, and feel what they had been calling impossible. Show them that nature wasn't just real, but more sophisticated than anything their technology had achieved. It was humanity's last chance to prove they belonged in the galaxy, and it would require trusting alien beings with the most precious thing. Earth possessed the irreplaceable natural world that had given birth to human civilization. The response from the Galactic Council arrived exactly 72 hours after Earth transmitted their comprehensive ecosystem documentation. Emma Rodriguez opened the official communication in the secure chamber beneath the Global Environmental Research Center, surrounded by Earth's top scientists and government officials. What they found was worse than outright rejection. The galaxy was laughing at them. Ambassador Thane of the Rigel Confederation had attached video commentary to his official response. His crystalline features showed what Emma had learned to recognize as condescending amusement among his species. The human submissions continued to demonstrate their species' remarkable capacity for creative fiction, Thane's translated voice announced. Their latest fabrications about self-regulating atmospheric systems would be entertaining if they were not being presented as scientific evidence. The Andromedan Science Academy's response was more clinical but equally dismissive. Chief Researcher Quinn had dissected every piece of data Earth provided, claiming to identify clear signs of digital manipulation in their atmospheric readings. According to Andromedan analysis, Earth's oxygen levels showed impossible stability patterns that could only be maintained through concealed technological intervention. Even worse was the reaction from the Centauri Trade Alliance, who had been among Earth's few supporters in galactic politics. Economic Minister Rax expressed profound disappointment that humans would resort to deception rather than honest cooperation. The Centauri had begun preliminary discussions about trade restrictions until Earth demonstrated appropriate scientific integrity. Emma felt sick as she read response after response. The mechanized collective accused Earth of hiding terraforming equipment of unprecedented sophistication. The silicon-based crystalline hierarchy claimed human ecosystem data violated fundamental thermodynamic principles. The peaceful vegans of Alpha Centauri expressed concern about human psychological stability, given their persistent delusions about natural planetary management. Director Walsh closed the communications and looked around the room at faces that reflected his own despair. "They're not just rejecting our evidence," he said quietly. "They're questioning our sanity." Dr. Lisa Wong, who had been studying galactic historical records, stood up slowly. "I think I understand what's happening," she said. "We're not just challenging their science. We're threatening their entire conception of civilized existence." She activated the main display and showed comparative analyses from dozens of galactic worlds. Every inhabited planet showed the same pattern: artificial atmospheric processors, genetically modified organisms designed for stability, technological nutrient distribution systems, and computerized weather management networks. The energy requirements were staggering, but these civilizations considered such systems essential for survival. Look at the energy expenditure data, Lisa continued. The average galactic world spends 30% of their total energy production maintaining their artificial ecosystems. Some spend more than 50%. They've organized their entire societies around the need to technologically manage their environments. Emma began to understand the scope of the problem, which means admitting that natural ecosystems work would undermine the foundation of their civilizations. Exactly. If we're right, then thousands of species have spent millions of years and unimaginable resources maintaining artificial systems they never needed. They've structured their governments, economies, and social systems around environmental management, technologies that might be unnecessary. The implications were staggering. Galactic civilization had developed around the core assumption that technological environmental management was essential for survival. Entire industries existed to build and maintain atmospheric processors. Government departments were dedicated to genetic modification programs. Trade relationships were built around exchanging environmental management technologies. Dr. Alex Thompson, who had been reviewing the Andromedan response to his ocean data, looked up from his tablet. They're not just skeptical, he said. They're terrified. Look at this analysis of our coral reef systems. The Andromedan report classified Earth's coral reefs as impossible biological structures that showed signs of molecular-level engineering. They claim that natural coral reefs should have collapsed under their own complexity centuries ago. The fact that Earth's reefs not only survived but actually grew stronger when damaged was, according to Andromedan science, a clear violation of entropy principles. They can't comprehend systems that become stronger through apparent chaos. Thompson continued. Their artificial reefs are maintained through constant technological intervention. The idea that biological systems could be antifragile instead of just resilient is beyond their understanding. Dr. Nina Kowalski shared similar findings from the forest data responses. The Rigel Confederation had analyzed her fungal network research and concluded that Earth's forests were maintained by concealed nanotechnological communication systems. They insisted that natural plant communities would compete themselves into extinction without technological mediation to enforce cooperation. They've forgotten that cooperation can emerge naturally from competition, Nina explained. They're artificial. Forests require computer systems to coordinate resource sharing between plants. They can't believe that biological systems evolve their own cooperative mechanisms. The most disturbing response came from the mechanized collective, whose analysis of Earth's atmospheric data had led them to a chilling conclusion. They believed Earth's climate stability was maintained by planetary-scale technological systems that humans had either forgotten about or were deliberately concealing. They requested permission to scan Earth with deep core analysis equipment to locate the hidden machinery. Emma realized they were facing more than scientific skepticism. The galaxy's major civilizations were beginning to see Earth as a potential threat, a planet that could maintain perfect environmental balance without visible technology suggested capabilities that exceeded anything in known galactic civilization. They think we're hiding something that could revolutionize or destroy galactic society, Emma said. From their perspective, we're either incredibly advanced or incredibly dangerous. Director Walsh pulled up the latest intelligence reports from Earth's diplomatic missions. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. 3 major galactic powers had formally requested that the Galactic Council classify Earth as a technological anomaly requiring investigation. 2 others had suggested that human claims about natural ecosystems represented potential psychological warfare designed to undermine galactic stability. Most concerning was a report from the Outer Rim Security Alliance, which had begun discussing containment protocols for worlds that demonstrated impossible technological capabilities. The phrase was diplomatic language for planetary quarantine, but the underlying threat was clear. We have 3 months left to provide convincing proof, Walsh said. But conventional evidence isn't working. Every piece of data we send just convinces them further that we're hiding advanced technology or suffering from species-wide delusions. Emma looked around the room at Earth's desperate scientific leadership. They needed a new approach, something that would bypass the galaxy's preconceptions and demonstrate natural ecosystems in a way that couldn't be dismissed or explained away. We need to invite them here, she said finally, not as diplomatic visitors, but as scientific observers. Let them bring their instruments, their scanners, their analysis equipment. Let them examine our ecosystems directly and try to find the hidden technology they're convinced must exist. The room erupted in protest. Inviting alien observers to Earth violated numerous security protocols. The risks of cultural contamination, technological theft, and environmental disruption were enormous. But as Emma listened to the arguments, she realized they had run out of safe options. If we don't prove our ecosystems are natural within 3 months, the galaxy will quarantine us permanently, she said. We'll be cut off from galactic civilization forever, labeled as either liars or threats. At least this way, we have a chance to show them the truth. The decision would require approval from the highest levels of human government. But as reports continued to arrive showing the galaxy's growing suspicion and fear of Earth, Emma knew they were rapidly approaching the point where humanity would have to choose between risking everything and losing everything. The galaxy's skepticism had become humanity's greatest threat, and only the impossible truth of Earth's natural beauty could save them. The alien ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like nothing humanity had ever seen. Emma Rodriguez watched from the observation deck of the Costa Rica research station as 3 vessels representing the galaxy's most skeptical civilizations approached the landing coordinates. Each ship was a masterpiece of artificial environmental control, sealed completely from any outside contamination, carrying beings who had never breathed unprocessed air or touched unsterilized soil. The first ship belonged to the crystalline hierarchy, its silicon-based occupant existing as a living computer program housed in a mobile crystal matrix. The second carried engineer Zara from the mechanized collective, whose original biology had been almost entirely replaced with synthetic components optimized for controlled environments. The third brought biologist Kale from the enclosed worlds, a being whose species had lived in completely artificial habitats for so many generations that they had lost the ability to process natural environmental variations. Emma felt the weight of humanity's future as she watched the ships land. These 3 beings represented civilizations that controlled vast sectors of the galaxy. Their conclusions about Earth's ecosystem would determine whether humanity remained part of galactic society or faced permanent isolation. Director Walsh approached with final security briefings, but Emma barely listened. The plan was simple. Show the visitors Earth's natural systems in action and let them try to find the hidden technology they were convinced must exist. But simple plans often produced the most complex problems. The aliens emerged from their ships wearing environmental suits that completely isolated them from Earth's atmosphere. Representative Quinn from the crystalline hierarchy moved within a shimmering energy field that prevented any direct contact with organic matter. Engineer Zara's mechanical components hummed with scanning equipment that immediately began analyzing every molecule in the surrounding air. Biologist Kale remained inside a portable habitat chamber that maintained the sterile conditions his species required. For survival, Emma greeted the delegation with the standard galactic diplomatic protocols, but she could sense their deep suspicion. They had come to Earth expecting to find concealed terraforming equipment, hidden atmospheric processors, or advanced nanotechnology maintaining the planet's impossible ecological balance. Instead, they found forests, rivers, and wildlife that looked exactly like the fabricated data humanity had been transmitting. The environmental readings are highly irregular, Quinn announced, his translated voice carrying what Emma had learned to recognize as confusion among crystalline beings. Atmospheric composition fluctuates within ranges that should cause immediate system collapse, yet remain stable through mechanisms we cannot detect. The tour began along carefully planned routes through Costa Rica's rainforest. Emma had chosen This location because it contained some of Earth's most complex and active ecosystems in a relatively small area. If the aliens were going to find hidden technology anywhere, it would be here among the incredible biodiversity of the tropical forest. But as they walked deeper into the forest, the aliens' instruments began detecting what they classified as critical system failures everywhere they looked. Trees were randomly distributing nutrients to their competitors instead of maintaining optimal resource allocation. Predator populations were dangerously unstable because they weren't being regulated by population control systems. Insect communities showed chaotic organization patterns that should have led to ecological collapse centuries ago. Engineer Zara stopped frequently to scan tree trunks, soil samples, and water sources with increasingly sophisticated equipment. "I am detecting complex chemical communication networks throughout this area," she announced. "However, I cannot locate the technological infrastructure managing these systems." Emma exchanged glances with Dr. Nina Kowalski, who was serving as their forest ecosystem specialist. "The communication networks you're detecting are natural," Nina explained. "The trees and plants communicate through chemical signals, fungal networks, and root system connections that evolved over millions of years." "Impossible," Zara responded immediately. "Chemical communication networks require artificial amplification and filtering systems to maintain signal clarity across distances exceeding local molecular diffusion ranges. Natural organic systems cannot sustain complex information transfer without technological enhancement." But as they continued through the forest, something unexpected began to happen. The ecosystem started responding to the aliens' presence in ways that their instruments couldn't explain. When Quinn's electromagnetic field disrupted the navigation systems of local insects, the forest's fungal networks began rerouting chemical signals to compensate for the disruption. When Zara's mechanical components leaked trace metals into a small stream, aquatic plants immediately began absorbing and neutralizing the contamination. "The system is adapting to our presence," biologist Kale observed from within his protective chamber. "But I cannot detect any central processing unit coordinating these responses." Emma felt a surge of hope. The aliens were witnessing exactly what she had hoped they would see: Earth's ecosystem demonstrating its natural intelligence in real time. But their reaction showed how deeply their artificial worldview was embedded in their thinking. The breakthrough moment came when Tim Chun, their local naturalist guide, was bitten by a fertile ant while collecting plant samples for the aliens to analyze. Emma's heart stopped as she watched one of the most venomous snakes in the Americas inject its toxins into Tim's arm. The aliens immediately prepared to witness a demonstration of humanity's medical technology. They expected to see advanced healing devices, artificial antivenom systems, or genetic modification treatments that would save Tim's life. Instead, they watched as the young naturalist calmly identified 3 specific plants growing within 50 meters of the snakebite location. "The forest provides its own solutions," Tim explained as he prepared a paste from the plant's roots and leaves. "These species evolved alongside the snakes. Their chemical compounds neutralized the venom when combined properly." What followed was something the aliens had never seen in their artificial worlds: a living system healing itself. Tim's own immune system, guided by millions of years of human coevolution with Earth's ecosystems, began processing the plant compounds and counteracting the snake venom. Within hours, the swelling decreased and his vital signs stabilized. For beings who had lived their entire existence in sterile, controlled environments where every biological process required technological intervention, watching a natural healing process was revolutionary. They had spent so long managing biological systems artificially that they had forgotten biology could manage itself. "The human organism is processing toxins through biological mechanisms I cannot replicate artificially," Zara admitted. His immune system is coordinating responses across multiple physiological systems simultaneously without external computational support. Representative Quinn's analysis was even more significant. "The plant chemical compounds demonstrate molecular sophistication exceeding our most advanced pharmaceutical technologies. but they were produced without artificial synthesis or technological enhancement. Biologist Kale, who had been monitoring the entire incident through his chamber sensors, made the observation that would change everything. The forest anticipated this healing requirement. The antivenom plants grow in proximity to venomous species not through random distribution, but through coevolutionary relationships that optimize survival outcomes for multiple species simultaneously. Emma realized the aliens were finally beginning to understand what they had been trying to prove. Earth's ecosystem wasn't just balanced, it was intelligently balanced. Not through artificial intelligence, but through the natural intelligence that emerged from millions of years of evolutionary cooperation and competition. As the day ended and the aliens prepared to return to their ships, Emma could see that their certainty had been shaken. They had come to Earth expecting to find hidden technology maintaining impossible natural systems. Instead, they had discovered something far more challenging to their worldview: natural systems that were more sophisticated than any technology they had ever developed. The next morning would bring their official analysis and recommendations to the Galactic Council. Emma fell asleep that night knowing that humanity's fate rested on whether three artificial beings could accept that nature was not only real, but superior to anything their civilizations had built to replace it. 3 weeks after the alien delegation returned to their homeworlds, Emma Rodriguez received a message that changed everything. She was reviewing soil analysis data in her laboratory when the priority communication alert sounded throughout the Global Environmental Research Center. The message came directly from the Galactic Council's main chamber, broadcast simultaneously to every major civilization in known space. Representative Quinn of the crystalline hierarchy spoke first, his translated voice carrying none of the condescension that had characterized previous communications. After extensive analysis of direct observational data collected on the planet Earth, the crystalline hierarchy must revise fundamental assumptions about planetary ecosystem management. The pause that followed seemed to last forever. Human claims about natural self-regulating biological systems have been confirmed as accurate. Emma felt her knees go weak as she listened to the rest of Quinn's statement. The crystalline being explained that his analysis had detected what he termed distributed biological intelligence, operating throughout Earth's ecosystems. This intelligence demonstrated coordination capabilities that exceeded any artificial system the crystalline hierarchy had developed in their million-year technological history. Engineer Zara's report followed, and her findings were even more revolutionary. Mechanical analysis confirms that Earth's biological systems operate through self-organizing principles that cannot be replicated through current galactic technology. The complexity of chemical communication networks, automated resource distribution systems, and adaptive response mechanisms observed in Earth's forests represents technological advancement beyond current galactic capabilities. But it was biologist Kale's assessment that sent shockwaves through galactic civilization. Earth's ecosystems demonstrate sustainable development principles that our artificial systems have never achieved. While galactic environmental management requires constant energy input and technological maintenance, Earth's natural systems actually generate energy surpluses while maintaining perfect long-term stability. Emma watched as the implications rippled across galactic communication networks. Within hours, responses began flooding in from civilizations across the galaxy, and the tone was completely different from the skepticism humanity had faced for months. The Andromedan Science Academy issued a formal apology for their previous dismissal of Earth's data, requesting immediate access to natural ecosystem research opportunities. They offered to trade their most advanced atmospheric processing technologies for the chance to study how Earth's atmosphere regulated itself without technological intervention. The Centauri Trade Alliance went even further, proposing massive economic partnerships to study Earth's resource management principles. Their analysis suggested that adopting natural ecosystem management could reduce their energy costs by 40% while improving environmental stability. Most surprisingly, the Rigel Confederation, which had been among Earth's harshest critics, quietly requested permission to establish research stations on Earth. Their message was brief but profound. The Rigel Confederation acknowledges that natural systems represent technological capabilities we abandoned prematurely. We request opportunity to relearn principles our ancestors possessed before artificial replacement systems became necessary. Emma realized that the galaxy's response revealed something remarkable about the civilizations that had rejected Earth's claims. They hadn't forgotten about natural ecosystems because they were primitive or ignorant. They had abandoned natural systems because their own had failed during their technological development, and they had assumed such failure was inevitable. For all intelligent species, Director Walsh called an emergency meeting as requests for Earth access continued to arrive. The conference room filled with government officials, scientists, and military advisors who were struggling to comprehend humanity's sudden transformation from galactic outcasts to the most sought-after civilization in known space were receiving requests from 47 different civilizations, Walsh announced. They want to study our forests, our oceans, our soil, our atmosphere, and our wildlife. Some are offering technologies that could advance human civilization by centuries. Others are proposing research partnerships that would make Earth the center of galactic scientific activity. Emma felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Earth had won the argument, but victory brought new challenges. How do you manage requests from dozens of advanced civilizations who suddenly realize they need something you have? How do you protect irreplaceable natural systems while sharing knowledge that could benefit the entire galaxy? Dr. Lisa Wong, who had become Earth's leading expert on galactic ecological history, provided crucial context. What we're seeing isn't just interest in our ecosystems. It's a fundamental shift in galactic scientific paradigm. For the first time in millions of years, advanced civilizations are questioning whether artificial environmental management was the right choice. The evidence supported Lisa's assessment. Reports were arriving daily of galactic civilizations beginning to reconsider their artificial systems. The vegan colonies were experimenting with reducing their atmospheric processing to allow for natural air circulation. The mechanized collective had initiated research programs to study how biological systems achieved efficiency levels their machines couldn't match. Most significantly, several civilizations had begun what they termed rewilding projects on dead planets in their territories. Using principles learned from Earth's ecosystem data, they were attempting to establish natural biological systems on worlds that had been barren for millennia. Emma found herself at the center of humanity's response to galactic interest. Her team was tasked with developing protocols that would allow alien researchers to study Earth's ecosystems without disrupting them. It was a delicate balance between scientific cooperation and environmental protection. The solution they developed was revolutionary in its simplicity. Instead of bringing large numbers of alien researchers to Earth, they would establish off-world research stations where Earth's ecosystem principles could be studied and replicated. Carefully collected samples of soil, plant seeds, and microbial communities would be used to create small-scale, natural systems that aliens could observe safely, but the most important element of the program was human expertise. Earth's naturalists, ecologists, and indigenous knowledge keepers became the galaxy's most valuable teachers. People like Tim Chun, who understood natural systems through direct experience rather than just scientific analysis, found themselves advising civilizations whose technology exceeded human capabilities in every area except the most important. 1. Living in harmony with natural systems. 6 months after the alien delegation's visit, Emma stood in the same Costa Rican forest where humanity's future had been decided. But now the forest was connected to research stations on 17 different worlds, where alien scientists were learning to grow their first natural plants in millions of years. The transformation was remarkable. Civilizations that had spent countless resources maintaining artificial ecosystems were discovering that natural systems didn't just work better. They worked with less effort and greater resilience than anything technology could provide. Planets that had been environmental disasters were slowly healing through the application of natural principles. Emma received regular reports from human advisors working throughout the galaxy. Former wasteland worlds were showing their first signs of natural vegetation. Artificial atmospheric processors were being supplemented with biological systems that improved air quality while reducing energy costs. Most remarkably, several civilizations were beginning to experience something they hadn't known for millennia: the simple pleasure of breathing unprocessed air and drinking unfiltered water. As Emma walked through the forest that had saved humanity's place in galactic civilization, she realized that Earth's greatest export wasn't resources or technology. It was wisdom, the knowledge of how to live as part of the systems that sustained life rather than separate from them. The galaxy had spent millions of years building artificial replacements for the natural world. Humanity had kept the original. And now they were teaching the cosmos how to remember what it meant to be truly alive. Earth had become not just a member of galactic civilization, but its teacher, showing advanced species how to rediscover the natural intelligence they had abandoned in their rush toward technological supremacy. The impossible had become inevitable. Nature itself had become humanity's greatest contribution to the stars.